Huh? It's not doing what it's supposed to do. I like Restring because once you hook it up, it's hooked up. And guess what? It's showing. I like Restring because once you hook it up, it's hooked up. Okay. We're there.
Okay.
We are even.
Yay.
4 minutes early, but wait for people to get in the first place anyway. So
That's all good.
this music is still going. Oh my gosh, come on. Okay. Didn't realize you have to cut it off. Okay. Who knows what they're going to come up next? So this should be interesting tonight.
Ah, here we go.
Yeah, they're always used to me coming in late.
That's okay.
So everybody's like, yeah. So we're just going to be looking at everybody come in. So I've had people talk about the energy and how they're hearing stuff, and that's even in the signal group. They're talking about they're hearing stuff different ways and different frequencies. So it's definitely changing that hearing in the back and that
Right.
vibration that they're going, what's going on here? And I think we're looking at the, where I was talking about the vision of how 5D people, spiritual people that are awakened, it's their perception of what they accept. We still, I call it the normie zombie process, is still not seeing anything and they're not paying attention to all that. But you're seeing a bunch, listening, paying attention to what's going on now, and they're confirming some things. So I think everybody's coming in finally. They're coming in. It's 8 o'clock at night.
For you, it is.
Right? Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, it's 9 for you, right?
It's 9
It
for
is
me,
9
yeah.
for you.
It's all
Right.
good.
Yeah. So, you guys, I just wanted to come on tonight, and because this is a Sunday, but I am going to be doing regular Sundays because I have more time to do that now. We're going to go over some past predictions, but we're going with some questions that are current. Also, reading some stuff that I did do predictions in the past that I just dug out again because the fog, the earthquakes, how our crust is on Earth is changing. So I just feel this change coming with earthquakes again. I'm starting to feel that whole process. So it's getting there. So and we posted earlier today in the Signal group questions. So we're going to do our best to answer some of these questions and everything. So it is definitely we are in the times, but we are also in the times that people are going towards the direction of seeing the true information and following the true information and seeing it happen instead of just product pushing. I'm starting to see people turn away and lead their own direction, which is nice because they're paying attention and they're listening to their own intuition and wanting to be part of this amazing experience and are listening to everything. And I think it's a good process because we're supposed to get as many as we can aligned with this ascension and this development that resides within you. So I think in those important times, things. So I think, well, are we on 8:01. So we have
Yeah.
one more minute before we start throwing those questions out and seeing what Spirit says about them. And but the thing I want to bring up that I've talked about, and I told everybody this, that the shepherd signed something before he left office that if you have been caught, that they would seize your assets, your boats, your all your items, and that we own everything. The American people, the world, they own these products, these houses, these assets now. And I said that over a year and a half ago because it was going to be seized. Because why should you have this for what the crimes against humanity you have done? And I think I'm starting to see that slowly come to the surface. You know what I'm saying? They're starting to show that. So, like I said, I think we own pretty much everything that you see that's pushed out there now, Amazon, some other places and stuff like that. So I think people are starting to see that now versus not seeing it. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
It's it's changing in that way. You know, they're not like, oh, it's not happening. Well, it is happening, and now I think people are trusting them. Like, okay, you know, so it's going in that great, good bank. That's stocking up the gold. You know, stacking up there. You know, so I think it's a good thing. But even the pain and the suffering and all that stuff, it's never going to help what some people in this world have been through. But if it can make their life easier in the future, I think it's going to be better. But like I said, the dark side never thought that they were ever going to be in this position, that they were going to conquer and win, and now we're looking at it. You're seeing it. Um, don't you think that's kind of just overwhelming a little bit and just shocking? I think people are shocked by that.
I think a lot of people are, but it's certainly interesting to be here to witness it. That's for sure.
It is, and it's they're in shock by it. You know, that they're like, how is this happening? You know, how could? And it's how we look at things because we're not used to seeing it at all. We're not used to thinking that we're going to have the upper advantage. We're going to be serving humanity. That's kind of hard to comprehend. That's really happening. But so as everybody in what I've said in the past, I call him the ambassador, the shepherd, the king, whatever you want to say. It's representing this earth, and he's doing a good job of doing it. So why don't we start with a couple questions that people have asked, then we can go over this information and see
Sure.
what's going on from there.
Yeah, speaking of, those individuals getting into trouble now, there was article in the Sunday Times in South Africa, a sting operation thwarts trafficking of 443 children from Zimbabwe to South Africa in 42 buses. So you're thinking that, is this what we think it really is?
Were they white? Were they white buses?
It might have been.
I'm shocked by that. That was a stunning situation. I would believe so. It just feels like everything from underneath the grounds is, coming to the surface. I mean, and who knows what they're going to fill it in with. It's just, when you get to that certain phase of things when it's just like, of cleansing things, of things are being done. And now, you had those phases of going after the evil, evil, evil. And now we're at a phase where you're going to have some resistance, but it's not as bad. So they're pretty much have got to the mode and figured things out and know how they're going to go after these people now, because what happens is the weakness is coming in and you have no more dinero to give them. That breaks that down. That's what I think is happening now. So it's just like everybody, I think, now is spilling the beans. And that's what we were talking about, how in the States, how they're going to start filtering, Spirit told me, how they're going to start filtering these cities and trapping the rat, and then filtering the information that they need, and then deciding where they need to go. So I think it's important that you see that process when you're seeing a white bus go by. You're seeing these different type of fences going up, which I think the resistance would be the Democratic cities. And so that's what you're sensing the weakness now on the other side. You're not feeling this strength behind them, and they're getting, just like any type of criminal, they get wore out, they get tired, they can't run anymore. And when you have a spirit of the light that just is determined to take them down, the truth will be seen, and that's what's happening. And so I would tell you that the ones that are just spinning the information on the media, it's like over and over and over and over, and it's getting recycled, and the product pushers and all of them, it's getting old. Mankind is tired, and now they just want the truth out there, and they're turning off the propaganda, they're turning off the product pushers. They're like, truth, 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 and that's the thing I've been fighting for since day one. Truth, truth, truth. And now there's a lot of people that are choosing that independence thinking, which is a great process. So yeah, and we're seeing a lot of those results on the debt clock. People want it verified, but you're seeing it on the debt clock of those steps being in position. So, what was the question again?
No, you answered the question. We're good.
Always when I get into it, and I'm like, okay, you started with over here, and then you landed over there, Jen.
So, it's all good. Then you end up mixing the questions together, and that's all right. That's fine. No, it's good. It was about the lovely buses and the cleaning up of
right.
Right. And speaking of cleaning up, the earthquakes in the Philippines, does that have anything to do with maybe cleaning out more dumps?
That's my answers.
Are we done with the dumps?
So strength and weakness. I would say part of that, but I think there's some other things going on. Like, we always get occupied with what you're seeing in front of you and just kind of accept that. So I think some other chess pieces are being put in position too, of strength too. And like I said, you either give in, will take you down. So I feel like in the process of the ones leading, they're putting new pawns as the light in position as this thing has to be created. That's what they're saying. So it's not where you just take things down. You have to make sure the strength is there, to replace that dirty pawn. So yes.
Okay, good. Good, thank you. And also, do you see any more progression of future earthquakes?
Yes, I already just talked about that before I went online. That
okay.
There's a shift coming. Maybe I should go back to that one I just pulled out The prediction one. Let me see if I could find the line on that one. That this was another year and a half ago. Let's see. It's like starting the groundwork. The inner earth is the puzzle, how the earth can flip and turn. Certain volcanoes can be on the bottom as well as some on the top. So I want you to, and like some islands, they will be on top and they will flip to the bottom. And that's why we go back to this reference of this Rubik's Cube. We are told in one way or another that our Earth is a certain way. And now we're starting to see this certain crust change and develop in a different way. And our past is starting to come to the top. So with each of these precise earthquakes, they're showing a bit of truth that's revealing on the top. I also saw, was it Hawaii, that it's snowing? Hawaii doesn't snow. So that's environments that it doesn't happen that often. So it's just very odd how this world is changing. So it's definitely dimension door surfacing around and around, and the precious puzzle, like a Rubik's Cube that are going to be put back together from the past. They are showing the light that's coming from, I'll say, these chairs. We talked about these certain chairs that hold certain environments. These are prestige, important chairs. So I would say over a lighter council of things, aligning together. All that is lining. Think of things above. So the pyramids, the ley lines, the big cities stand above everything in a high conscience. And so the biggest thing is getting rid of all the negative off the plane in the rise of the Golden City. They have already sounded the alarm. This is a year and a half ago, and constantly playing until everything is done. So I'm already hearing, people are hearing things like I said, you're going to hear it at a different perception, and people are already hearing those frequencies. So they are looking down and seeing the planet being put in action from above. Look at the mountains and volcanoes that moves into the plates of the puzzle. How come sometimes a beautiful as nature itself can be like a city interacting, everything to be cleared and suddenly very fast. So we think that this dismantling phase is going to be like this slow 3D process. It's not. It's going to happen overnight, like I've said. So here we go with that word again. It keeps coming up. Do you know what word that is? Cheap. Magnificent. I can't even say anymore. Every time I look at some of this challenge stuff, it comes up with it. To release these magnificent creatures that have been put down in the inner earth so they can fly in the inner peace and have, that upper control again. On the top of the pyramids, all of this. And to make circles of light, circles of one, we need to, and they say they're kind of calling out the fake Galaxy Federation. So, all that's going to come to an end. All your concentration should be concentrating on ascending on their own path. Remember what they have to get rid of. This is what I mentioned about across the ice. They are white and gold pyramids they are futuristic. They have to surface to the top. And this is, I want to go into, or we're going to this prolonged. Some people that have been watching me for a while know that I call these the organic ships that they showed me one time. I just draw what they show me, and they show me that these would be above Earth, and that this is a part of a dimensional energy to go in and out of, and this is supposed to be our planet as it goes into the transformation. Ooh. And these are organic. Organic. So, so looking above, I'll show that again. Looking above, paying attention to the skies. All concentration ascending. Remember what they have to get out there. So they're talking about they are white and gold in the sky. Shimmering lights of crafts were for humanity. The air will be clean, the oceans rejuvenated, the trees of the roots of the planet will be resurfaced, will be rising in its own way. Does that help?
Oh yeah. And actually, you know, the looking at that picture again and remembering a few
Yep.
photos that people took from in our signal group of certain circles in the sky and certain clouds. There was a cloud or two that actually had the shape of that ship, and then a few other photos that had the that circular shape up in the
Yeah,
sky.
this is our planet. You see these new colors and new vibration, and then even the surface itself is not the same. That's when I did this over a year and a half ago. And that's the whole thing about this. I'll download this, we'll put these out, and then you, like with all of my students too, I want them to see the proof. I want them to show how their information resides with the truth. That's what people need, not just say something, say something, say something. So that's the thing that's changing, you know. So we have to be paying attention outside. We have to be paying attention to our earth. We have to be paying attention to our water. We have to be paying attention to what our crust of this earth is doing. Our environments, our animals, our trees. If there's some weather on this planet you've never seen before that's changing. Fog is rolling in. So we can get back to the main question. What was that again? Isn't it funny how we start on one question and then it goes, Spirit just lines it with, okay, let's go back to this prediction with that information. So.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's how it's supposed to work. Now, as you were talking about the different things that people are hearing, and
right.
A lot of even people
sound in our silence, the vibration.
Some people are getting the silence, and a lot of people are getting that. They say it sounds like the EBS, but
right.
They can hear it, and there's nothing else around. There's no EBS going off, right. And a lot of people are picking up on that now too.
Right. So, and that's the thing when we talk about, when I teach in class, there's this voice, there's this inner strength, there's this understanding, and then everybody has this back hearing that's a different frequency, but it has to do with your veil of understanding. So if you've been doing your work for a long time and you're paying attention to everything, you're going to be right on in the line with listening to that and paying attention and hearing those frequencies. And there are some in the group that we're talking about today that they're actually getting feedback on each other to figure out, are you hearing this different than what I'm hearing it? And they are. So that's the whole thing about it. And then I've seen some videos too that they're hearing these sounds. And that's where I talked about in the 3D process for yourself. People think it's just like these blowhorns that you're going to hear. And I've talked about how the 144 and those sounds are elements and those are angelic, because in those elements, angelic presence are high frequency. If you've ever heard it, catched it in recording and stuff like that, they don't need a horn to blow those. So your veil of understanding is going to interpret what you can accept. So that's why it's going to be interesting how those sounds change for a different person and feeling them a different way and just having the knowing. So that's the whole thing, is each person, each soul is going through a different development and hearing it a different way, and the way your soul can accept it, and reside with it. That's the whole thing about it. So it's the sound of silence, and you learn a lot by that sound of silence. And I think people are saying, yeah, I'm going to listen. I'm going to pay attention. And that's like Spirit says, sometimes we can't get a word in edgewise because they're not listening. They're not listening to the inner voice, and they're not talking about what they're talking about. Sometimes when I'm talking to someone and they're not listening because they're not listening to us, they're not listening to the frequency, they're not listening to the silence, the quietness that comes with everything. If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And then these are to consider. I mean, everyone asks, these ascension symptoms. So, but they're different for everyone, as well as the physical symptoms that pop up of the pain and the the weakness, or the just having your body feel full of aches and creepy crawly feelings.
Oh my God! The other day, the only way to describe it is I have a chalkboard on your skin, and it is so. And I know that's the only reference I can say to that of how it felt, and then feeling the soreness, joint soreness, queasiness, and then I get this. It sounds like there's a feather in your ear, like you hear this rapid sound, and then it moves through. And that's why I always tell people, instead of resisting it, pull it in and move it out through you. You can start from one side, the left side, to the right side, and move it through instead of resisting that sound and that frequency. That's the whole thing. And that's why when I'm teaching, I'm not adjusting to program that I'm reading. I'm adjusting to what they're saying, what your veil is understanding, what your limitation is. They're describing that to me, and how you're pulling that in and how you're going to hear it, because people are going to hear it different. So yeah, I mean, it's changing for each person. And this is the thing. On this plane, each person at that exact time, we're supposed to hear it. And you might have another person that's not hearing anything, that you can be 2 blocks away and they're not seeing anything and they're not hearing this. That's what I'm talking about, that veil of understanding. You are meant to sense it. You are meant to see it first. You know what I'm saying? In that way. And then, like I told you, when we get to this certain ascension, it's not whether, everybody says the normies wake up. It's a shift of the crowd. And all of a sudden it's going to turn right. You know what I'm saying? And they're just going to follow the next one and the next one and the next one. Some of us are not those top people to lead. They're just going to follow and trust that instinctive pattern, if that makes sense. So it's that creepy crawly feeling that just makes me go, oh, it's hard. It is strange.
Right. Now here's a bigger question. How long will these things, you think, last, these symptoms, until actual ascension? Like till the time? Or
yeah, they're gonna get stronger. And I think the people that have been doing this all their life, or the ones that awaken, I'm sorry, but you're gonna feel it more. This is kind of where you're at, like, well, it'd be kind of good not to be in tune to it, because you're gonna feel every flutter, every I've had people, this is the thing on being a medium, we're hearing a lot of stuff now. We're hearing and it's fast and it's quick, and it's like they're just right here, and then all of a sudden it just feels like there's a crowd of these spirits that are just, they're waiting too. They're like, and so I'm not the only one feeling that or sensing that there's just this traffic of spirits, and it's a lot. So yeah, pretty interesting.
Okay, so we have a way to go, you're saying.
I'm telling you, It's not a, I don't think it's a way. I don't think it's a time where people think it's going to take days, because we've got to get out of that. It's this process. Okay, look at a process of going, like you're recharging your battery and you're at the starting at the 1% and you're going up to 100% in that capacity. And then I think that is where, when you get to that point, I think we're going to have this barrier at that point, this spiritual barrier. Okay. And I would tell you, like, I have a couple students, they're overly sensitive. Like, they are sensitive to everything. And a lot of them were not, they sense that they were never meant to be here. And some of them, I verified it. So they're overly sensitive. So I would think that there's a different type of energy coding that would protect them when they get to that capability. Because to handle that is going to be a lot, and everybody's going to be hiding in their house going, I'm not going out, I'm not going to be around it, So I'm just saying, I feel like when we do like Humble Healing 3, there's this new type of energy that comes in, and it just feels like there's a whole coat and protection around that. So I'm just saying, like, you look at things as an aura, and the layers of the aura will come in those dimensions and protect that. That's what I feel. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. That's all I can say. And each person's going to handle it a different way. But let me tell you, the creepy crawly thing is really, yeah, that's not my favorite. And the itchies, yeah. So are we going to come to an end on this? I think there'll be an energy that, like I said, it's kind of like that fog thing I present to the earth. It's a coating in a protective way that's coming with that. So we won't have the 3Ds, say 3D process too long.
Right. And another question on 3D, 4D stuff was, have many people moved to 4 to 5D yet? And is there an endpoint when people will shift from 3D or not?
I believe, like they told me a long time ago, that there's this 3 levels of conscience, and the lower level, there's ones that's just not going to get it completely at all. This is the thing that I'm going to tell people, and this is like, everybody asks about, how come I can't find a partner at all, and they're telling me, we're going to start, in a conscience level, in a way of trading out the veil. These new vessels are going to come in. Okay, so that it's kind of hard to think in that process, but the spiritual people are attracted to conscience. We see conscience first, and then we see that from inside out. So they're explaining this to me in the same way that Pleiadians are. They're just this light being, connection, it's purity. And then there's this communication of conscience and spirit. So I'm just saying that I think it'll be replaced, and I mean, so it's like these vessels, and then you're going through one door, and then they come out another, and they look completely different. That's the only way I can describe it. Because I think there's an appetite, an awning, a need. They are not going to look like Fabio, just so you know. They're not going to look like they came out as a magazine. I got to tell you something else too, and I don't think people have put it together. All the these runway shows that you're seeing, I think the white hats are humiliating these name brands and making them look so stupid, and making them where, like, the last one was at the draw that I saw them. It was just a bag. They look like they're wearing bags all over their body, and I'm like, has anybody figured this out? That this is. I'm like, come on, are you serious? You got to know that, like, no, we're going to make you wear bags. You guys were a part of the negative, and now you're going to pay the price. And the fiddle is, how far will they actually accept them wearing a bag over their head? I mean, if you looked at the outfits that they're wearing, okay, it is utterly ridiculous. And if anybody is actually spending money buying this stuff, I am shocked. You know what I'm saying? Did you? I mean, it's insane. So I think the white hats are just like, well, let's sit back at the bar and just decide how bad we can make them look. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just expecting to get a little worse. But the worst one I've saw so far, they literally look like they had bags all the way down. They're walking through this stuff. I mean, it is ridiculous. Plastic bags. I mean, it is getting ridiculous. I think it's to teach society a lesson, but also the designers. I'm sorry, but it's getting funny.
Yeah, pull them
It
out of
is.
their ego for sure.
It is. It's just like, come on, guys, come on. But hello. But yeah, it's they're in so many areas humiliating these brands. They are. And you can't blame them at all on how they're doing this, but they are. It's so I thought I might bring that up because I saw something on Facebook, and then people are like, "Isn't that nice?" I go, "What is wrong with you? That is not, anybody would wear that. No one would buy that, and no one would carry it. They would sweat to death in the first place." But yeah, it's oh my goodness, it's hilarious. So anyway,
Yeah, I could see that, especially with those definitely still stuck in their 3D world.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is. It's funny.
Yeah. Yes, I'll buy that outfit for $5,000 because it looks like a bag.
Oh. There are different colors of bags, though. Let's say that. Pinks,
oh, well, there you go.
Purples, and blues. But first of all, how do you get in a car in that? How do you fit in the car? How do you drive? How do you go to the bathroom? I just want to know. How's that outfit going to work? Just saying. It is just some things. Okay. And it's just like, it's right in front of you. The answer is right there. Yeah, I'm telling you. Animals would even get the instinct on that. They're like, yeah, this doesn't look right. But anyway, we can go on about this subject forever.
Absolutely. But no, we shall move on. Again, with speaking of ascension things, someone asked, the children that are being born for the last 5 to 6 years seem to know everything. And are they arriving to help with the ascension? And is their veil non-existent for them? And how do we work with them?
I don't think it's non-existent. And I have talked to a couple people about doing their contract, their futuristic contract that I've seen. Whether that was piled on me. And they call these the blue coiled children. And I don't know why they show me in blue, but they also, I see this energy going in and out of them, not looking like a human again. But you see energy moving through them and the high intelligence. So that's a glimpse of it. And the just like the ones that, as we started this, we had a certain knowing, and now this is another level of the knowing, and now they're going into the higher intelligence. You know, another thing that you're seeing is in animals. Animals are changing in their intelligence too. You're seeing that too, but they're called the blue coil children. And it's very, very elusive, but there's this blueness about them. And then that I saw in my vision, and then the eyes, it just kind of see through everything. And they said and that not even humans would be educating these conscious children, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think there'd be too many humans being able to do that to these kids. They'd
Well,
be
that's
looking at them
around
like,
the corner, right? Or
oh
education.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. That's going to be a 182. But yeah, so yeah.
Okay, great. Next. Oh, speaking of animals, again, probably like we were talking about distractions, that dog disease that's bouncing around.
I don't believe it.
Okay.
Pretty.
I don't either. Just add it to the distractions.
Yes.
Okay.
To
Very
keep you
good.
from ascending and keep you distracted on other things that are in panic and into the negative mode. So no, don't play into it.
All righty. On to the next. I tried to keep them flowing, but we're
Yeah.
good. We're a little. Uh, okay. Um, Here's one. Let's go back to the giants. There's a lot of evidence of cutout stumps of large trees that modern geology mistook for rock formations, etc. What historical event could have caused, or how did all of these large trees and giants die and become petrified?
Okay, so imagine it feels like, especially you see them on the other side of the ice, so we can go there, but like an energy, how do I say this? Like capsulation process. And they talked about it in the Bible when they left the city, and they told them, said, don't look back or you'll turn to stone. And so this is kind of like that thing, but this isn't a biblical thing. But the petrified is part of this energy, it's like frozen in time situation that I see happen. So it's almost like on the outside, it was a different time capsule than it is in the inside. So like I did this drawing in Utah, remember? And I'm showing how they come out of these areas here. And this is referring again to the Salt Lake area. I had to hold this picture back, and so you can look at it any way you want, but it just shows a dimensional way of opening. It looks like an eye, but that's not just the way it shows you. So I call it capsation, and it's not like it kind of is like that firmament feeling. You know what I'm saying? And it froze it in time. And that's what it feels like when they're showing me this energy. It's not a warmness that they show me in this, and then it hardens and accumulates to this stone process. That's the way I can describe it to you. And I think that they talk about the giants on this one. I have another one on the giants. And this is where they're talking about the giant devices that they carried, right? That man wanted to get a hold of them. And because we saw those, and they were carrying them in circles, and they were carrying them underground and reinstate. This is the thing that was really weird about this. Reinstate again, look for them in the sky, and the loud sound, and the large voice. So, and I always thought that these were smart beings, that they were not, I think society tries to make you feel like they're not that intelligent. Oh, why don't you look at the way they built things? Why don't you look at how it looks magnificent? It does. And so you're going to tell me these didn't have the process to high intelligence as they built those, and man can't even figure them out. So I was just like, whatever. I thought I had something else on the giants. So that I call it the capsation. It just feels like it's captive in at that time. And do I feel like this could be at a time where the firmament was developed too? It could be. But I'm just describing it the way I feel it. I sense it as I'm getting. So that's how I would tell you.
Okay, thank you. So, but we're expecting something from below
Yes.
come up.
Because when they showed me those underground and they showed me the smell and how far, and I could hear vibration of streets, and that they showed 5 or 6 were moving together underground, and they weren't dumb about this. And then they were as this device in the center that they were carrying, and this would go back, like they're saying here, it would go back. Hold on again. Let me go find it again. The Giants device that would carry, they would be carrying that again, and they would reinstate again the energy and then for them it would be a loud sound. They're telling you, and a loud voice in the sky, and so I'd be listening to hearing that too, because when they showed me that device, and they showed me in a circle motion, that, and I have a picture of that too. That did not want man to have the device. What are all these historical things like the Ark of the Covenant and the Emerald Tablets, and they didn't want them to touch it? Wonder why? It's all about power.
All right. Now, you talk about the sound. That sound, is that sound something that everyone's going to be able to hear? Or is that?
Yeah, I feel it is. And I've heard people hearing a bang. So it would be a loud sound in a different voice, but I don't think it's a fearful voice that they showed. Because remember when I got these giants, it's not something I was looking for. I wasn't trying to get these beings or anything. And they just showed me under Iran and how that pathway was, and that they were carrying a device, and been moving. They've been having to move consistently so it would never be captured. So yeah. Right. And I think that resides with the knowing of a different tone too. Of knowing this is not something of of man's frequency, of man's device. Does that make sense? I mean, look at the Tentarians, giants, and all that whole situation. Go back and let's do research on them. A one-time man and giants were side by side protecting. So we don't want to go back to that history. They don't want you to know that, but yeah.
Right. Okay.
I have the picture too. I don't know if I can find it. Of that, because they, sometimes I get stuff and I'm like, I don't even want to do it. I'm like, oh, why? So there's always an argument in some way.
But you end up doing it anyway.
Yeah, right. Just like we can talk about the was it June? I did that Ruby Slippers Follow the Yellow Brick Road thing, and then Spirit that night goes, go look on the deck clock. What do you know? That was crazy. It's like, oh, she's sitting there, the Ruby Slippers. Yeah. And that's on Instagram. I think most of my predictions are sitting on Instagram. So this was the original map, for the giants, that whole map. And it went into Lebanon, Israel, Jordan. And there was just showing this road, Turkey, all of that stuff. And it would they would go through these rocks and everything. So it was very surreal how they showed me this stuff. And then that's why, when I teach class, I tell them, it doesn't matter if you haven't figured it out. Just get the information and implement it somewhere. It'll all come together at a different time. And that's what's important, is that we're just supposed to relay the information. We'll figure it out later. And I think as humans, we want to figure it out right away and analyze it to death. And that's what we don't need to do. We just need to let it be what it is. And so when that one popped up, that's what I had to do with that one. It's just, okay. This is, here's that picture of these giants in a circle together, in a cavern, like we're talking again. See? And that device in the center.
Right.
Of course, I didn't finish all of it, but I was just trying to get it. And this is in a cavern area where you can tell it's underground. But yeah.
I don't think you have that one on your Instagram.
I don't think so, because I drew it, but I didn't think it was done. So sometimes I just stuff and then. But yeah, it's a device. So.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, back to speaking of the earth. Here's the question. Well, it's kind of a double question. Do we need to pray or call to Mother Sophia or Magdalene and hear goddesses of love light to help us balance the earth and bring us to the next level and close to flipping the switch? And with that can you please explain who or what is Sophia?
Okay, Sophia to me is an energy of a female essence. So when I was really talking about this a lot, I was talking about how we were getting to a process that we were trying to dismantle females, dismantle who they are, dismantle their creativity, their essence of being a mother, all of that. And that's why the left was really in that phase. And then that's when that came. It's just, this is important energy. This is important. I talked about that on Instagram, a long video I did that we talked about the Yellow Brick Road and the Stairway to Heaven. So it's on that one. And it was the essence of the energy, that softness energy and the collective of females working together and bringing that motherly energy. So that's what it is. It's an essence of energy that brings to earth. And it's almost that naturist process and that energy that takes care of things and motherly things. And it's in, the animal kingdom and all that stuff. And to annihilate that, to take that away, was a big deal. So that's the way they were describing it to me. So it was not Mary Magdalene energy. I don't get that name a lot. I get the other name, Sophia. So that's just not a name they use with me. But the way they were describing it and trying to interpret it to me as an energy of light that's important, especially when it comes to caring and cuddling, and it's the same energy as that warmth that I feel. My ear's going off right now. They're talking about the warmth. The Pleiadians are around, the creators around. It's that warmth that's the ultimate energy. That's part of it in that way. So yeah.
Right, because you can feel that energy is totally different than the others that come through.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. We're getting there.
So if we're going to talk about the plays, let's talk about this real quick. And everybody's asked me this question. So I'm going to say KAB, channel on Telegram. And he's a true channeler for the Pleiadians. trueness. There's a knowing inside him that I kind of reside with the way he does things, and that's what I'm going to tell you. All this other stuff, they try to debunk him, but he's that pure trueness, that raw trueness comes from him, and the way he describes it in the details. So I think he's on Instagram, or he's got a website, but go on to his. I'll have to look at it right now. And not that I agree with everything, but I can tell you 100% he channels them in a very, it's KAB, and he has a chat on it on Telegram, and that is a knowing inside his information and the way he describes things. So, no, it's KAB. And I think he's on Twitter too. So he debunks a lot of stuff with the Pleiadians too. And there's a passion that when I see people go after the Pleiadians, it goes very deep into the core of me. It's an uneasy feeling of attacking them because they're not in a human format of the wants, the needs, or desires in that way. It's kind of how they were developed in such a pureness of goodness. And so it just kind of tries to put a salt on what they are. It's just bad. So anyway, that's how I feel about that.
Right, thank you. I think someone put Cabimer family of Taigeta.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Exactly.
Did it. Real true. Thank you. Okay, here's another one. If the Earth is going to hibernate and we are being evicted, where is the new Earth? And is it in the same realm or a different dimension?
So here we go, where people think that it's like this far physical place again, right? Because we get into that situation. And so the way I describe it to you is waking up, going to sleep and waking up in a different place. But it's like you're not feeling, like your senses are not feeling that bodily energy. You know what I'm saying? You're having this warmness, and it's almost like when you find out you've passed on and you're not feeling your body, but there's this warmness that comes around you that is very enlightened. And then the colors are different. I describe the colors in 5Ds. There's always white behind every color, and then it moves in a motion. So if people understood that the money is not the ultimate essence of the soul, the ultimate essence of the soul is the energy at one time accumulates perfection and magnificent frequency. And once you dive into that, you're at that complete consistency of desire. And that's all you need. It's not what this world wants us to reach to or to discover. So, yeah.
Right. Okay, can we go now? Can we go?
All right. That's why I said, take the money. I want the energy. Give me the energy back.
Yeah.
Give me that back. That's what I remember feeling, remembering. And if I didn't have that memory, I don't think I'd ever desire the way I want to be back in that again. That's the thing. That's the hardest thing, is to have that memory of that. So.
Yes, well, thank you for, again, and other people have been saying it there, for all you do, even though you have that you have to deal with constantly.
And then I want to mention Gale of Gaia. Love her. I also like Casey K, and she's on Telegram too. And just mentioning some of these really pure good ones out there. And so Gayla Gaia's on here, and then she's on Facebook, and then she's got her own on Telegram, and then KC is a JCK is on Telegram too. So
Okay, thanks. Here's another question for you. Do you think a part of the reason we haven't seen it all flip yet, even though it's in the background, is because we keep looking outside of ourselves for information?
we want it easy in front of us to access and just give it to us. That's what society has taught us. But the point is getting to the lesson of how we got there. And that's why everything's in these codes, and everybody that's actually really working in the background, they already know. They're not worried about it. They're already at that process. But we keep most societies looking at it from a 3D process. And I keep telling people when I felt things shift and change inside me, I knew that it was already done. So it was just, here's a 3D view account, here's a 4D view account. And it's important that everybody wants to be in that process right now. But the thing is, you have to witness something important to understand how we got here and to learn the lesson. And that is being unraveled. But in the view of the 3D, I believe it's literally pulling a power and saying, okay, pull the power. Now we're ready to begin the show. So, but it's important to take that into your mindset, view that, accept that, understand what it did to souls, because you're not going to learn anything in the mind, in the conscience by, I'm not going to watch that. You don't have a choice. You have to come to your knees and understand the truth. Society is catered to that spoiled brat syndrome, and that you don't have to do it. Well, it's going to be reversed, and you're going to have to take the truth and develop in the truth and accept the truth and do stuff for humanity and accept things for humanity and decide within you what you need to do to contribute.
Right. And now, a question to go along with that, as people are learning this and not getting things, just handed to them, as they're picking up on things, how do they know that they can trust any feelings or things that they're getting?
Because there's a purity, there's a knowing with the truth, because you feel that down deep in your soul. You know when something is evil because you feel that too. You know it. It makes you sick, it makes you heavy, and you know how that resides inside you, that it's bad. Same as the light, same as the truth, it resides in a different way. The truth you do not have to remember. The lies you do, but the truth you do not, because it comes into a pure conscience and it flows. And that's what's important. Is it's like the negative. It has to keep ahead of lies. It keeps ahead of the tales. It keeps ahead of that, and that's exhausting to be in that. And that's why it's exhausting for any type of con to keep playing that part and keep moving that. And so what I'm saying is, and that's why they can't understand why the shepherd has all this energy. Why does he have all this energy? Why? Because he has that light, but he also has that trueness serum. True, pushing that out. He doesn't have to remember, and it's not a part in the way that his conscience has to analyze things. It comes through vibration, a voice, a frequency, a knowing. So all of those, and that's what matters. So the negative's always paranoid. The negative is always watching its back and wondering each negative person that they're with of whether they're going to turn on them. So I'm just telling you, it's just it's the way it is. It's the truth.
Right. Thank you. Just a couple more here. I know we did have a bunch. Everybody sent in so many questions, and I know we went over some before we started the chat, but we're not going to get to all of them, unfortunately. But just a couple more here. What do you see is the next event that needs to happen to move things forward?
Okay.
I know we're in it.
So sometimes I get information very fast. Like everybody in the group of the signal, I put something about the angels, which were above and below, and then exact picture, and then they showed me, and then they said here and there. We talked about the 144, and then they went through their ruby slipper things, and I was like, oh, it's there. Did that. Okay, so then I put a picture of a 4D, and it has gold bars, like stairs coming down, and a path to all these people going towards that direction. So I believe that path of the golden ages is coming, because there's a sunrise that's like a golden age, that we're going to start to shift and go in that path. We're going to shift and go into that golden age. We're going to shift and follow that light. That's what's happening next. And you're already seeing the earth develop in it. You're already seeing yourself be attracted to that. So, and it's already showed that on the deck clock where we're at already. We're just not accepting that. So the thing is, it's the path. Like I said, Stairway to Heaven has always been on the other side. Follow the Yellow Brick Road has always been the golden road. And we had to have the courage, the heart, bravery, all of that to get there and to have trust in yourself. So now, that's if you look at that picture, that's what that is displaying over the other side of our earth. And now, as I said, that shift, going into that shift of light together and moving into that movement, and the ambassador, the shepherd, opening that door, sitting in that golden chair, to release it. And I mean in a different way. It's an energy way. And I want you to understand, ambassadors and shepherds, for I would say, they are chosen by the people. They're chosen by the people, the effort and the consistency and the trust, not in a point of being bought or paid off. It's a knowing of the trust, 100% that's behind them. But also there's a humbleness with that, a graciousness that comes with that, the purity in the eyes, the truth serum. I got a book. Oh boy. No, I just want to find that because I want to. Let's do this. See if I can find it. But it's the warriors. These ones there. There's a certain texture that they have, that they carry. Protection of being tough. No matter what it comes down to, the way they see it. They got to the truth, they got to the core of things, and no matter what was thrown at them, that's how they can sleep at night, is because of that purity of the truth. I'm trying to find it. The book I have out a lot. But once that purity is there, you kind of feel you're guided by this light, and that consistency protects you. That consistency of the truth serum, of that energy, and the meaning. There's a meaning behind it of honesty. And the reward literally is the loyalty to creation and helping humanity in not a sense of money. It's getting them to a different level of valuing each other and not looking at it as this wave of you're better than me, or as a one consistent humanity process together. So that's what I want to explain, if that makes sense. I wish I could find that book. I carry it all the time. Hold on one second.
Right.
Let me see if I can find it. But it talks about the warriors. It talks about the purity of that process. I don't know what to do with it. I use it a lot. But so, and those type of people are always analyzing and thinking and processing information. They're literally in their mind 4 steps ahead of everything. They're not thinking that one process, they are ahead of the game. And that's why it's so irritating to be in the negative and not being able to figure out how they're able to get things done and feel like it doesn't even faze them. So it's all protected from the light. It's protected in the goals of everything. So yeah, it's like, well done.
Right. And the thing that stands out to me is, like, as you've always said too, it's in the eyes.
It is in the eyes. The truth is in the eyes. But serving in a good way of humanity is in that too. The servant, and I don't mean in a way of someone's better than the other person. I mean that, well done. Thank you for serving humanity. Right. And that's the whole thing. So one humble humanity person would understand another humanity person, because this is the thing. They cannot be bought. They cannot be sold. Whatever you put in front of them, they're not buying that ticket. Mel Gibson didn't buy that ticket either. Sorry, he's like,
right.
Ooh. So there's many out there that have a strong character of the truth. And the ones that decided they were going to be bought, it's a very dark place to be in right now. It's your walls are closing in. There's no light that's coming in your direction, and it's closing in on you quick. And everybody's going to know who that is. So I think the patience is the biggest thing. The timing is everything to reveal the truth, and you got to have great patience too.
Yes, I think patience is the big word. It's the word of the day, right?
Yes.
Patience and inner peace.
Yeah, and the silence. The silence speaks volumes. So,
right.
You have another question?
Okay, back to the question on Trump. Will he be back before the end of 2023, or when will our new group of leaders be installed, and will Trump still be the shepherd?
So I never said It would be a presidential situation. It would be an ambassador, shepherd, and king in a futuristic way. But it has to do with the respect of it. You understand? It's not the resistance of it. It's doing the noble deed of deserving that position because of the honor of it. So I want you to understand in the trust of a council, the trust of the council of many. So sorry, I'm getting cold. So that's the whole thing about it. So futuristic position, technology coming in a vast way. Like I told you, it's going to come in overnight, and pushing independence and free energy and all that process with this. It's important to be a leader in that and teach independence. That's the biggest thing about a good leader, is teaching independence so they can think on their own and process on their own and survive on their own too. Not confined and telling someone how they need to think, and so that core of the intuitive process of making their own choices. So yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, just a couple of general area questions. Can you give an update maybe on what you feel on the situation in the UK? Got anything coming from there?
I'm not feeling. Remember I told you how you have to develop when you replace everything. You have to put pieces that are of strength in a position, and sometimes you're not seeing it. You've seen a very light drift way. So I believe that those, I want you to say, kingdoms of the light being positioned in the right way. And you're not seeing up front, but it's going to come to a reveal moment. And that's, I believe, around the corner. And I think you're already starting to see that and watching process on how they used to do things before. The process is changing. And especially the negative, the unfairness is all of a sudden coming to a different understanding of laws and process that's on a fairness level, and dismantling the negative. So I believe we're in these creating development stages of a new world. So I want to say that in a way that you guys understand. So look at creativity, look at embarking on new faces that you have not seen before, and development in a different way. And then all of a sudden, in your society and your roads, in corporations, all of a sudden this vast gold backing money all of a sudden appears. That tells you the change.
Right. Thank you. And if we can move over to Canada.
I always said that was the weakest country, the weakest leader. So I just don't feel like that. I think that's going to reside with the states as it goes into a process. I think I've always said that. And so it's just like another continent that's just going to jump on board with the things. It's just the dismantling phase is in effect, and the creation. I think that was, like I said, that was one of the last energies, because it wasn't a strong one. But there's a lot of programming that needs to be really reprogrammed there, in the fear-based. But then there are those warriors in the society. There will be standing up and maybe taking positions. So it's coming. So I just feel a complete hierarchy is dismantled. Uh, and behind that front stage, there is a lot going on. So paying attention where money's being spent and what you're seeing in foundations changing.
Right. Thank you. Okay. For the states, New York City. I know you had all your predictions for New York City.
Massive dismantling phase across the board on that one.
Lots of blessings.
That is literally trapping the rat in the corner situation. Yeah, and that one in Los Angeles too. But like I said, the structure, the strength there is not there no more. So it's literally pushing everything in a corner and then getting the information that they need and then deciding where those rats need to be. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might see some fenced in areas for a filtration process.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
It will be.
That's pretty much what we went over from our group.
Okay.
There are a couple from the chat here. Anything? What do you get on the take of the homeless people that were all cleaned out in San Francisco?
Because at first, when I thought that they came in, I thought that the negative was using that as a mirage, and I also think it was using it as a feeding ground for certain energies. And now pulling that back because I don't, whether they were giving them dinero or keeping them around to a certain point. Now it's kind of look at them as a getting them facilitated and getting them on their way or making a decision or getting them help. So I just think that that might be another filtration situation. So I thought that was a whole situation when it was pushed. It was a mirage situation to occupy the mind and not look behind the doors or not look at what was going on. Because you know what I'm saying is people ignore those people. They don't even see them in a visual way. They ignore them. And that's why it's easy to hide many things within that community. But let me tell you something. That community, they're very, very smart. Don't underestimate what they've seen, what they know in levels. And I think in some of these processes on rebuilding and stuff like that, you'd be surprised what you can learn from them. So we'll see how that community will contribute in a different way. Because there's different levels of them, different conscience.
Right.
And maybe some high volume spiritual people that you wanted to hide in the light, that would be a place to hide too.
Right. Yes, it would.
This would be a great place.
Yeah. Okay. What's your opinion or thoughts on JF Jr. returning?
I saw this picture that they gave me a visual, and I haven't figured out why the visual is yet, but I saw his face and the demeanor, the temperament, the energy, the frequency, and then they showed me Yeshua. And I was like, okay, what are you trying to tell me here? So I think in all of us, spiritual and balance and everything, we always feel we get our information for something, and maybe it might be an energy that he works with and analyzes things, but I think there's a consistency of energy with those two on behavior, on balance, on mission, on understanding, and deliverance. So I believe there's a lot of warriors from the past that are re-present here in our world and working with hierarchy of our governments now in a positive way, and how that works, same as what you would see healers and how we get our information. We just don't really talk about this, but it was when they implement something over and over and over again, and the balance of it, the good energy of it, there's something to pay attention with. So could that be an energy that is talking or walking through him? Could be. We'll know the meaning at the end of this.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting
right
thing to
and so
see.
like now, like I said, I had a lot of people that are, they're in a mad rush now to get in line of finding their healing path, their what they see for themselves in the future, giving to humanity. And so now people are finally feeling comfortable with that. So I'm setting up people for those appointments for that, but also classes, and because my mission is to get them aligned for this ascension and feel comfortable in it and not feel, uncomfortable about it and who they are, and identify them in a one-on-one situation. So, and that was the thing. I think all of us were trying to get as many aligned in their path. So it's just something that I will constantly work on until they tell me to stop.
Yes, much appreciated. And I can say you're a great teacher. Let's see, another in the chat. Have you got anything on Australia?
Next, I haven't focused on that, but I believe that that's been conquered to a certain degree of things. So I'm not in a resistance pattern with that. So I'd say in potted areas, what I'm hearing, that they're working in developed stages of that situation. So I feel good, not to complete capacity, but I feel better than I was before. It's aligning with everything else.
Great. Okay, that's kind of what we had in chat, hon. So if there's anything you want to add.
Well, I mean, it's just no. I mean, everybody knows how to contact me, and if you're really confused, conflict, just reach out to me on that end. I mean, I could tell you right now we're in great times, but you really need to look at how you're perceiving information and what's trying to get your attention, and what you really need is important to understand that, because the cars, the houses, and all that's it's not sufficing your soul anymore. It's a different level of humbleness, peace that we desire now, and I help people reach that and understand that is the most important thing. But peace throughout our world, and it's not overly indulging. It's enough that you just have that peace in the mind, and people are choosing that more. So I will be back again next Sunday. So we'll do this again.
Great. I think it went well.
I think I've been waiting to do it, but yeah, this time. So yeah. So I'm excited for what's going to be revealed, and the people that have worked blood, sweat, and tears, the real ones in the background, they're not in a popular light. I think um, there will be great honor with that process. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's all I had to say tonight. And everybody knows how to contact me through our website and that stuff. And so we will be talking again like this soon.
Thank you very much, Jen.
Yeah, it was nice to come on and just give people information. So, but listen, look, pay attention, and keep an eye on the deck clock because I might disappear. That's what I'm feeling. So, guys, good night. Stay in the light.